Okay. I hope the sound is coming through. I'm checking it already. Check.
I agree. I'm a dope.
Okay, that works. De-engineering. That's what I'm doing. Trying to fix things. All right. Here we go. Gonna give it a shot. I almost feel like I should check. See if the thing works before I even start talking. People start referencing what I'm gibbering about in the background. Then I know the mic is on. Check. All right, I made it. Whew. Oh, I've got big hair today. Sorry, I've been running around doing all kinds. I had got Chud back from the vets today, the emergency vets. That was a lot. It was a lot emotionally. It was a lot. She's upstairs, resting, wounded, shaven on her wrists again, like she's some sort of punk poodle. Yeah, I didn't have time to do my hair. Sorry, I was in a big hurry. And I just it was wet, and then it was dry, and then I ran over and threw everything on because I just had to try and give Chud some medicine that they gave her. And here's the problem. I think I'd be better off giving her suppositories at this point, since her problem seems to be esophageal. And issues with her breathing and her like mucus and that kind of stuff seems to be the effect of what's happening. And they keep giving me medicine to give her in like a liquid form, shove the little syringe in her mouth to try to make her drink it. And she's not, that's not happening. She's just not, she just coughs it up or spits it out or goes, and lets it run down her face. Like, she's slick. She knows what she's doing. So, yeah. Anyways, it's a, thank you, Wes. I try. All right. So, Chud is, we are monitoring her condition. They're supposed to call us and give us an appointment with a specialist for her. And until then, we're just kind of on Chud watch. Whew. And yeah, it's kind of the same thing. Only it was like they never make the medicine tuna flavored. No, they do not. It's a very strange thing. And by the way, hi chat room. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate it. Yeah, pill form or chewy form or something, like you'd think that it's pills that you're gonna give a pet, so therefore, I don't know, make it snossagey. Something like that. Anyways, poor thing. She was purring and resting. She's kind of laying in the corner with her face facing the wall right now, which is interesting. And so we're just, I'm hovering. I've been hovering all day. I've been hovering. I laid with her on the floor when she first got back when I brought her back from the vet. And I have to say, like, the ride back from the vet with your cat in the carrier and all that stuff is way easier than your ride to the vet when she's having trouble breathing and you're like, I hope I get there in time. Also, I must pay attention to driving and yet maintenance the cat's emotions while I'm driving with one. It's, yeah. Yes, this is my NFTs. I sell them on my site. You can get a real NFT instead of this digital bullshit. So, anyways, it's a lot. It's, she's a great old cat. She's been around for a long time. She's exactly the same color and shape as the mama cat on my farm in Kentucky, which is probably why I worked so hard to get her out from under the house in Venice and bring her out and make her a pet. Because we had a cat named Miss Kitty, of course, named after the lead hooker on Gunsmoke, but Miss Kitty seemed to work. And we also had an all gray, meaty fucking male cat. Like, this thing was like a horse. It was more hype train. It was more like a horse than a cat. And Miss Kitty and the Hulk had lots of babies. We had 28 cats running around that farm. And yes. And I knew it with Miss Kitty, right? And Yes, she was a hooker, as in Hooker's Brigade, as in where the name came from. Anyways, there was no, and I don't think they referred to them as sex workers in the Old West. Anyways, um, she was a lady of the night. Does that work better for you? Anyways, Miss Kitty and the Hulk had lots of babies, and they all lived under our porch in Kentucky, and we would feed them nothing but dry food, and then they would appreciate the fact that during, thunderstorms and stuff like that, the ones that were a little edgy could come in the house and sleep on the floor, and then they would go right back out again after the storm was over. And to thank us, they would just go, they'd go, "Hey, here's a mole. We don't eat these. We eat the mice, but you can have the moles. So here, this bird's too small to eat. Hey, I just found this for you. They're crispy. Go ahead, chow down. Thank you very much. How about this? How about I don't eat it? How about I don't even look down when I'm going to school and I step on it and and freak myself out." Lily von Stupp, right? That was yeah. I have to say, I named, King's X rocked Houston Saturday, third time's a charm. They still got it. Oh my God, it's so true. 250K Ohm, and I'm so glad you were there to support them. We love King's X. Go see them everywhere. Anyways, so yes, General Hooker in command of the Army of the Potomac during the Battle of Chancellorsville in the Civil War. That is exactly right. Well done, Carl. Yes, Hooker's Brigade was the name of the women that, he would bring around, and then they became like hookers as in apostrophe, and then it become hookers plural as in a group, and there you go. And yeah, I got a baby rabbit for you. The head's missing though. That's right. That's how it's the Catreon. We need a Catreon. That's so true. I'm surprised nobody has thought of that already, Bruce. That they haven't put together like a Catreon for, I've got a cat. It's got problems. I'll post videos if you guys help me with its broken foot and its asshole, whatever's wrong with it. Only felines. All right, simmer down. This name state, that's terrible. Just because you're on Twitch doesn't mean you can act like a 9-year-old. All right. My Orange Tom Freddy Krueger, Freddy Cougar, LOL, once left me a bird's heart in the porch by the door. Oh, that's sweet, isn't it? Yeah, shout out to all the hookers in the chat. We need a cat tree. Yeah, we should have I should have like an isolated camera aimed at the cat tree that I can just cut to it whenever there's just assholes, like we just had too much. We're over it. Once we hit the limit. All your cats' emergencies seem to happen on holiday weekends. Yeah, ours happen after they come back because they have this kind of like, I thought you were gone forever. And they go into their like Fred Sanford mode. It's a big one. Where'd you left me? Now I've got to show you how much I missed you by keeling over. So, no, poor country cats brought in the whole screaming rabbit. Oh, well, yikes, a whole screaming rabbit. Is that why feral cats run the back? Yeah. I'll donate the candid cat tree camera. Okay, great, Amy. I think it's worth doing. Tara Reid moved back home to Russia. Is that for real? Or are you just messing around? Okay, we have lots to cover today because I had to cut the show short to run an emergency because our beloved Chud was a mess. So before we get started, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. Thanks for seeing Megaworldwide, and share it with people so they see it. I haven't got these millions of followers like we can't be slacking. We have to unslack ourselves, deslack if even, perhaps. And then tomorrow night I'm at Flappers. I will be after the show tonight. Hopping in my car, driving to LA, doing the show with Phil tomorrow. By the way, lots of stuff going on there. Not to least of which is the false flag drone attacks in Moscow, and then the actual sort of missile attacks on Kiev in retaliation for the bullshit. They sent paper airplanes at us. It's time to nuke them. We'll talk about that some tomorrow. They were getting pelted. People were talking about it, and I saw Philip posting about it this morning. So we'll talk about that, and then I will have my regular afternoon show. I will do it perhaps a little earlier. I might do it an hour earlier, a little earlier, if that's okay, because that gives me time to get over to Flappers and set up the live stream. Because it's just like when I was at CPT. It's just I get there and everything. It should just be flip, 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 flip. We're fine. And no, not at all. Not even close. No. Hal, any shows in LA Friday, Saturday, Sunday? No. Next Patreon, yes. Can watch Flappers, yes. So I live stream it to the Patreon account, and you can watch it on there, and it'll give you a link. Yeah. Apparently, the drones in Moscow, the key isn't how powerful the key was. They're landing in rich areas. Yeah, well, they also hit apartment buildings. There's a lot of people notice that the idea that there were only 8 of them and we shot them all down, but they kind of scratched a rich person's house. That was part of the news, but there were allegedly closer to 28 of them, and a lot of them hit these apartment buildings, and a lot of the I mean, this is Kremlin talking points, so who can say? But it was hitting apartment buildings, and a couple of citizens who were on their balcony waving their Russian flags and cheering on our boys overseas were hit by the drones, ironically, right in the middle of their most patriotic moment, and killed. Yes, Flappers like 8 o'clock PST. That is right, Slayer Chick. It was, yes, I believe it was a false flag. Not American drones. They were Chinese drones. They were prosumer drones. They were not the kind like flying bomber drones or suicide drones. They were the kind that you photograph a celebrity's wedding with. They just attach a grenade to it or some other explosive and then have it trigger something. Yeah. So that's my feeling in general. Also, let me see if I can do this. Hold on. While we're here. Russian separatists are getting bolder. That is true. There is definitely something about that. And we will be talking about that with our dear friend Philip Ittner tomorrow specifically. And let's see. Yeah. I want to bring something up and then we'll get to it. Log in, you silly thing. I'm waiting for a page to log in. It's just, it's my life. It's my life. Widgets. Need a widget. And then I need an event list. There we go. And then I can copy that. Copy the copy. Okay. And then we'll copy it. And then we'll go over to here. And I'm going to go to studio mode. And then I'm going to go to comms. And I'm going to take this guy right here. And move it up there. And then I'm going to add a browser source and just do a little cool thing because I feel like it. There we go. We'll take this guy and we'll paste and then okay. And then we'll grab it and we'll slide it down here. And I think that's fabulous. So our dear friends can join in the fun. And I'll take this thing. There you go. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Beverly and 5 eggs and Sweet Mel and Tammy Talpas. And I just did this little thing when we transition over. Poo! There it is. Look, we got a little event list. Now we can see what's up, what's happening. So, mayhaps, I think it is time. Hi, there you go, chat room. How are you? Let's see. Sorry, I had a back. I'm sorry about the BTS. You shouldn't have to see behind the scenes. It's so gross. Anyway, so thank you guys. There's this, and then we will shut off the studio mode so I can go back to this. And then hello, Ona, hello, hello. The chat is very big. It is. It is the true flag of Falsistan. Falsistan should be a country at this point, I think. All right, so couple of things. I hate jumping over this page. It always makes you do this. Okay. Let's can we get to just like the stupid and gross out of the way before we get to the debt ceiling stuff? Because the debt ceiling is gonna suspension is gonna pass. It's gonna pass. They got enough votes. It's gonna pass. Like, these assholes do not want to cadaver the goddamn economy just for, I'll show Biden, I'll wreck every business in my state. Like, it's just, the fuck out of here. Now, there is a bit of like a game of chicken and like who's crazier, and maybe they might, but up to a certain point, they're like, look, we both gotta shut up the loonies on our side. So let's go in the back room and pretend we're arm wrestling, and we come out, everybody try to look sweaty. But until then, I figured we'd start right off with something just fucking gross. This is Trump reusing the same photo that he uses and everything on his own channel on Rumble. And this is from his Agenda 47. Day one executive order ending citizenship for children of illegals and outlawing birth tourism. So obviously, I hope this is translated into Russian. And if it is, hey, Miami, sorry about your economy, especially the stores that sell baby formula around Trump Tower, Miami, because apparently it's like a cottage industry in that building. So let's see. The first thing I'm going to do is stop all these brown people from coming across the border and, yes, rip Miami, dropping a load and calling it American. Oh, is it?
Utah Senator Mike.
Oh, quit it. Play this one, silly.
Joe Biden has launched an illegal foreign invasion of our country, allowing a record number of illegal aliens.
They're coming in. They're illegal. They're here.
Yeah, look.
Yeah, they're look.
To storm across our borders.
By the way, the numbers have continued to go down, and the border is no longer the giant, like, fear point they were hoping it would be, because Title 42 was fucking causing it. Because of this asshole. Because being a simple person, he looks for simple solutions to complex problems.
From all over the world they came.
They come from all walks of life. Good, bad, prince and pauper.
Under Biden's current policies...
I like these weird moments of him attempting to be poetic because he knows what a shit speaker he is.
Even though these millions of illegal border...
Churchill stood on the rooftops in London, very calm, making speeches. Winston Churchill.
He meant explosive in terms of fire.
All right.
Crossers have entered the country unlawfully. All of their future children will become automatic U.S. citizens. Can you imagine?
No. I can't imagine. What's that like? If you're in the country illegally and you have a kid, that kid has citizenship. You don't. That's the part that gets wonky for people. That's why people prefer to either have a visa or a permanent resident status, or perhaps, perhaps asylum status before they would.
They'll be eligible for welfare, taxpayer-funded health care, the right to vote, chain migration, and...
The right to vote. First of all, also, they'll be able to go to school here, get a fucking job, and contribute to the economy like everybody else.
World they came.
From all over the world.
Launched an illegal foreign invasion of our country, allowing a record number of illegal aliens to storm across our borders. From all over the world they came. Under Biden's current policies, even though these millions of illegal border crossers have entered the country unlawfully, all of their future children will become automatic U.S. citizens. Can you imagine?
And by the way, that's how it's always fucking worked. And if you don't believe me, ask Melania.
They'll be eligible for welfare, taxpayer-funded health care, the right to vote, chain migration, and countless other government benefits, many of which will also profit the illegal alien parents.
Yeah, it's a big con. That's what it is. Can I just say for a second, on a side note, in my trip to Chicago this week, we had one of those big kind of family gatherings, and there's always one. And the weekend before, when we had the graduation stuff here, there were 2 or 3. And I sat down and talked to them, and you guys know I can give them what for. And it was very pleasant. I was able to relieve them of some of their misconceptions that they have been carrying around quite some time that are absolutely ludicrous. On top of that, this time around, I was talking to a relative of Summer's side of the family, and he lives in Texas, border town, one of the ones that's in the news. I'll just leave it at that. And we're talking about stuff. And at one point, he's got one of those little rubber bracelets on his hand, and he goes, where I live, this is, he rolls it over, and it says Trump 2024 on it. He just turned it inside out when he's around the family. With this man, I had the most liberal and respectful conversation about asylum seekers I have ever had. And most of it was him making their case, going, these people would not be coming here if they weren't leaving lives of pain and tragedy. They have beautiful cultures, and they come here, and there needs to be a system. That guy was wearing a Trump 24, and by the way, more than likely, he's not going to vote that way. This is kind of leftover for him. You can tell. It's partly why he probably turned it inside out. But I was stunned because it was heartfelt. And this guy works in construction, and so he's around a lot of immigrant labor, let's just say. And he talks about these folks, speaks fluent Spanish, and talks about these folks like their family. And it gave me hope that clearly that talking point, this one we're watching, this bullshit right here, this isn't going to land well with him. With the guy I spoke to, who was a hardcore Trump voter before and is sort of on his phase out and looking for another option, this is not going to help secure that vote. He is not solidifying his base with this bullshit. Just saying. It was I have to say, it was an incredibly positive experience.
This policy is a reward for breaking the laws of the United States and is obviously
No, not if they get asylum, fuckhead. It's not illegal to seek asylum. Stupid. You just started with the asylum. If they qualify for asylum, it's legal. Dipshit. They illegally abided by international law that we, the United States, participate in. Damn it.
magnet helping draw the flood of illegals across our borders. They come by the millions and millions and millions.
From everywhere from whence they came, all from for all of the places whence they came, and therefore here they have arrived in the millions and the pedillions.
They come from mental institutions.
Well, hopefully some of them work there, and you can get the help you need. They come from mental institutions. Look, I got news for you. If you can walk all the way from Guatemala to America and survive, maybe you're not that crazy.
They come from jails, prisoners.
I see. Not the corrections workers. Thanks for clarifying that. I thought, wardens are fleeing the Mexican prisons and trying to, I'm sorry, not just Mexico, obviously all over the world. Yemeni wardens have rowed across the Pacific.
Some of the toughest, meanest people you'll ever see.
The ones with the babies, they're like mama bears, except they're not bears. They're worse. They're women, and they're brown. They're like brown bears, but not bears, but women who are brown. It's scary. They scare the crap out of me. Some of them have made Arnold Schwarzenegger pay millions.
The United States is among the only countries in the world that says that even if neither parent is a citizen nor even lawfully in the country, their future children are automatic citizens the moment the parents trespass onto our soil. As has been laid out by many scholars, this current policy is based on a historical myth and a willful misinterpretation of the law by the open borders advocates.
No, it's just really been the fucking law forever. Or you wouldn't be a citizen. Good Lord.
There aren't that many of them around. It's amazing. Who wants this? Who wants to have prisoners coming into our country? Who wants?
Apparently you. That's why you kept Title 42 in place or put in place, and that's why you wanted it. That's why all the Republicans want it, so that they can try and try and try again and never get the mark on their record that keeps them from ever being a citizen ever. Yeah.
To have people who are very sick coming into our country, people from mental institutions coming.
Did he mention mental institutions? Because I feel like he should bring that up more. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, I think this might be a trend. I think he might
into our country.
And the thing is, I mean, they're crazy and they speak Spanish. How can you tell?
And come they will. They're coming by the thousands.
Come they will, from whence they came, across the plains again and again.
Thousands by the tens of thousands.
Well, at least the number has lowered since he started talking. It was millions just a couple seconds ago, so that's reassuring.
Part of my plan.
Way to go. Let's go, Brandon.
To secure the border on day one of my new term in office, I will sign an executive order making clear to federal agencies that under the correct interpretation of the law, going forward, the future children of illegal aliens will not receive automatic U.S. citizenship. It's things like this that bring millions of people to our country.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's why we're the richest country on the fucking planet. It's also why countries like China and Russia are dying slow, painful deaths, because they are racially homogenous and don't take in immigrants. I'm just throwing that out there.
And they enter our country illegally.
I get that point, except for the asylum seekers, which I don't. That you do realize you'll sign it and it won't last 10 days because it's unconstitutional.
My policy will choke off a major incentive for continued illegal immigration, deter more migrants from coming, and encourage many of the aliens.
Why? Just because the kid isn't an automatic citizen doesn't mean families aren't going to still try and come here. What the fuck are you talking about? Do you think people come here? I got news for you. Some people fucking come here expecting to find the love of their life while living as citizens in the United States and have a kid here.
Joe Biden is unlawfully let into our country to go back to their home countries. They must go back.
They got to go back. They have to. They got to self-deport. I know I shit on Mitt Romney, but they've got to self-deport. We're not going to pay for it. They're just going to have to stand there and wait for us to drive them there.
Nobody could afford this. Nobody could do this.
Except the United States, which has been doing this for a couple hundred years.
And even morally, it's so wrong.
Is it? Yeah, it's morally, it's so wrong. What were the founding fathers thinking? Ugh.
My order will also end their unfair practice known as birth tourism.
Oh, you mean the shit you take a fee from Russians to do in Trump Tower, Miami? Okay.
Hundreds of thousands of people from all over the planet.
Yeah, the planet, and some from off the planet.
Squat in hotels for their
Ew. I think they actually go to hospitals.
Last few weeks of pregnancy to illegitimately and illegally obtain U.S. citizenship for the child, often to later exploit chain migration to jump the line and get green cards for themselves and their family members.
And with that, I am divorcing Melania and her whole dirty foreign clan.
It's a practice that's
going on currently at Trump Tower, Miami.
So horrible.
And apparently the sanctions are making it impossible to make any real money on it anymore. So I'm just gonna get rid of it.
And so egregious, but we let it go forward. At least one parent will have to be a citizen or a legal resident in order to qualify. We will secure our borders and we will restore our sovereignty.
We're going to secure the vagina border. There will be a border around every foreigner woman vagina out there. Obviously, an exit-only border, since I can just grab them if I want to, insert anything into them because I'm a disgusting fucking pig. Obviously, foreign vaginas are not safe from intrusion, but nothing comes out. If it comes out, we're just going to kick that little sucker back in and say, never learn English.
Starting on day one, our country will be great again. Our country will be a country again. We'll have borders.
We have borders. I'm just saying. Otherwise, they wouldn't actually even be able to say like the number of people crossing the border has dropped by 60%. If we didn't have a border, you couldn't even mention that. That wouldn't even come up.
We'll have proper education.
Winston Churchill stood on the
Hold
rooftops
on,
in
sorry.
London,
I pushed
very
the wrong
calm,
button.
making speeches.
I know.
Winston Churchill.
America first. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. By the way, totally unconstitutional and gross. You can't do it with an executive order. It's just goofy bullshit. I don't know who he thinks it's appealing to. I'm sure there's a group of like Trump voters that have been like, there's probably, quite frankly, been some like rich gross fuck at Mar-a-Lago or Bedminster who's been like blathering this shit in his ear every time he goes there. You know what I mean? Like the one like, ah, damn it, we got to stop these anchor babies. That's the thing. That's why they really do it. Isn't that right, March? I know. Yesterday we were over there. We're in the, there's so many prams and all of them look like piñatas. It's disgusting. I can't even. Isn't that right, Sam? I know. Yeah, these kids come over there, and I literally saw this woman give birth, Mexican lady, probably, and out comes the baby. He's got arms like an anchor. The kid could just beat up any adult he runs into. And there's literally, she didn't even have an umbilical cord. It was a chain. He was literally an anchor baby. I know, it's terrible. We have to do something about this, Donald. Donald, can you even hear us talking? You're slurping your eggs and ketchup so goddamn loud. Good Lord. You're still coming to our soiree at the former Epstein property on Wednesday, right? You're still coming? Oh, good. Hey. So, yeah. Where are we? Okay, let's go back to here. Thanks for watching. You're watching Hal Sparks Mega Worldwide. Share the show. Look at our big, gigantic audience. It's a good crowd tonight. Good crowd. Nice to see you, folks. Glad you could be here. This is good stuff. Now, obviously, the debt ceiling is a big deal. If a bill doesn't pass, we're gonna hit the Derp ceiling in 5 days. 5 days, and we're doomed. And well, everybody except everybody who works for a living. Obviously, rich people will just buy the dip. But the thing about Republicans is that in their populist fervor, they have they pretty much attached they've hitched their wagon to a lot of mid-level businesses that can't just skate on stock market bumps and dips. So they're having to actually pass this fucking thing too. So Chip Roy is out there. He's the front of these idiots who are trying to get, Republicans to stand firm and not vote for the deal that the guy they elected leader negotiated with the guy who's president of the fucking country. So it's just, yeah, it's a good time. So let's hear it from the horse's mouth right away. This is who's Kevin McCarthy? No, it's Kevin McCarthy, and he's got his own McCarthyism. He's scared of his own Reds at this point. They're all going to, basically, as soon as this passes, somebody's going to do a motion to vacate, and we're going to have a very entertaining post-debt ceiling week. We really are. I'm very excited. So, all right. Yes, the Target boycott people are the same people that will get fucked if the debt ceiling doesn't get suspended. So, here we go. This is McCarthy champions debt deal, biggest cut in American history. You tell him, man. He's on Fox and he's just giving him what for.
Yes.
Oh, and by the way, they've sent Kilmeade to a restaurant to talk to blue hairs, and that's why the other two hosts are genuinely smiling, in case you're wondering. You're like, wow, the smiles on their face don't look pained and fake. That's because Kilmeade's, I think, he's about 1,000 miles away, something like that.
There's a lot of people here, the VIPs. You got generals, you have colonels, you have small business owners.
Yes, I will say, you have not lived until you've eaten at the Cracker Barrel, the flagship Cracker Barrel in Ponte Vedra Beach, Florida.
All concerned about the country. This is one of the most patriotic places in the nation, and a lot of them are here today, and they're big-time viewers. And it's going to be special.
Yes, because they would tell you if they weren't.
Talking to them shortly, including an Eagle Scout. But right now, I want to bring in one of the busiest guys in America, who's got a lot on the line this week.
He's got a lot on the line.
Speaker Kevin McCarthy. Mr. Speaker, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me all the way down even in Florida.
Hey, you're in Florida. Hey, it says you're in Florida. Look at you're down there in Florida. I politician for a living. I know how to politics for people.
Right. I know how hard you guys worked on this deal, but it's going to be a nail biter, it seems, going down to the wire. How concerned are you about the bill that you cobbled together getting out of committee?
Well, look, it's a different Congress. It's a new day. It's not that you have to pass the bill to find out what's in it. You got 72 hours. This isn't a 1,000-page bill. This is 99 pages. And this is different than we've ever had before.
Because it's not, it's mild modifications in other stuff as a trade-off for raising the debt ceiling. Calling it a bill is technically what it is, but it ain't a bill. Get the fuck out of here. You didn't dream up maybe we should have crossing barriers at railroad tracks so school buses don't get hit.
Actually going to spend less money this year than we spent last year.
Yes, and we spent less money last year than we did the year before because Biden has been cutting the deficit the entire time he's been in office. And
your viewers have heard me give this analogy before.
Well, you're nothing if not boring. But, since Kilmeade's in Florida, perhaps you should tell him again.
A debt limit is like the family having a credit card.
Fuck you. No, it isn't. No, it is not. It is not like the family having a credit card. All right. We'll get through it, but I hate this fucking analogy. It's dumb.
But you've been charging it up every year and just keep lifting the limit.
Dear God, imagine if, let's say, your child graduates high school and goes to college and they get their first credit card and they've got $3,000 limit on there and they pay it fairly regularly and they run some stuff up, but eventually they need more credit, so eventually they get a bigger credit card as they become an adult, and then after that they get a student loan on top of that, so they borrowed the $3,000 or $5,000 limit on their card, but they also pay for some of their classes temporarily on their credit card, and then they get reimbursed through a scholarship or other payments and for financial aid or whatever like that, and then they got student loans for the rest of it, and their debt has expanded from a $3,000 card to a $5,000 card to $50,000 worth of student loan debt, and then at some point these fucking idiots buy a house, get a car, have a phone with a plan and all this stuff. It's almost as if every human being who graduates high school develops credit equal to the size of their fucking life.
This year's different. We now say we're going to spend less. Now, unfortunately...
No, not now. Again, Biden cut the deficit last year, too.
I wasn't able to look at all what we spend our money on because the mandatory spending, Social Security, Medicare, that's all off to the side. So I can only look at about 15% of what we spend our money on.
You heard that right. They want to tank the fucking economy for an arm wrestle over 15% of the budget.
So what we did is, in elements like non-defense, that's going to go below 2022 levels. So that's a very positive. But the
2022 and 2023, those like social programs were elevated because of COVID. And so dropping them down to 2019 in many cases still makes them above current inflation.
The other thing we did, we put ourselves on a spending plan. We cap how much we can spend for the next 6 years with government. But we also did something different. In this family, we may have a child that able-bodied, not married, no kids, but he's sitting on the couch collecting welfare.
Yes, that child is between the ages of 50 and 55 because the SNAP changes that they made only apply to human beings who are able-bodied, who are 50 to 55 years old, and not their children, just them having the work requirements, and with like exemptions for homeless people, people with children, and veterans.
We're going to put work requirements on that individual.
Yes, an individual between 50 and 55 who is able-bodied, who is on SNAP. All 9 of them.
So he's going to have work requirements. He's going to get a job. And
it's a he. Notice, it's a he. It's just a he.
It's going to make the life easier. But we're also...
Sorry, what was that sentence?
Individual. So he's going to have work requirements. He's going to get a job. And it's going to make the life easier.
And he's going to make the life easier. I am doing the politics. Speaking thoughts and words.
But we're also going to look at places we've been spending our money that we've wasted that we're going to return, right?
Oh, by the way, no, there is unspent COVID money allocated above and beyond what was necessary, and they're just pulling it back, which the Biden administration has been doing from each budget past 2021 anyways.
Like all that COVID money that we didn't...
Right. What I say? What I say? What I fucking say? What I say?
Spend. We're going to bring it back. But one of my favorites here is $400 million for CDC, the global fund, where we'd use that hardworking taxpayer money over to China. We're not going to do that. We're going to send that back. And then
we're going to send that back. Okay. Money you're not going to spend. We weren't going to send that money anyways.
Did a number of other things here, right? One of the things that's very interesting did that the president has been spending money wildly. If he wants to put a new regulation in, we took an executive order of President Trump's and now we're putting it into law and making it a little tougher. Where if he wants to put a new regulation in, he has to cut government if it costs more than $100 million. And then
How many fucking... First of all, how many regulations can you put in that cost more than $100 million to implement? Seriously. Especially when the vast majority of you put them into law and private companies and citizens have to abide by that regulation so they don't dirty up the rivers and streams and shit. Cost who $100 million? Good Lord.
We looked at things about cutting the red tape that we get so...
Red tape is way more expensive than clear tape. We're using Scotch tape. I got a bulk deal at Costco.
Frustrated that we can't build the roads. It takes 7 years. We now reform NEPA, the environmental review. Instead of waiting 7 years, now the studies are only 1 to 2 years. This hasn't been done in 40 years.
Yeah, because of technology.
And then we did something interesting to make government or make Congress consequences for their lack of action. They have 12 appropriation bills that they have to pass every year, and they never do, and they come back with that omnibus.
Fuck you mean they, motherfucker? You're the speaker.
Now we say, if you don't do your job, it's a 1% cut across the board. So encourage members.
That's just incentivizing the Chip Roys of the world to delay the fucking appropriations, stupid. That just means it's going to be more of a fight just getting them to do the goddamn thing every time. Because if you want to cut it, all you got to do is cross your arms and stomp your feet.
Of Congress. Not now with the new Congress, you actually show up. Now you're going to have to work. This is going to be the biggest cut.
Oh, that's why MTG wanted to quit. Now I get it.
The Congressional Budget Office says in history of where we're going forward. To do.
Wait, well, look at the cutback. Look at Kilmeade looking at him when they cut to him. Because, I mean...
Biggest cut by the Congressional Budget Office says in history of where we're going forward. To do all that, we allowed the debt ceiling to go forward for the next 18 months, and we'll readdress it, hopefully with a Republican president and a Republican Senate, to even make it stronger.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Speaker, we want to play you these two sound bites. These are two in the GOP that are saying they're voting no, and we'll get your reaction on the other side. Here's Chip Roy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we know. And here's a sad moment with Brian Kilmeade. Wait a minute. Everybody seems like they're having a good time, except me.
And Ralph Norman.
There's going to be a block of us that are a no. And I hope that more Republicans will join with us and stand up. I would like to say that we should kill this. We should move forward. We should pass a short-term debt ceiling change. Let's not lift the debt. $4 trillion. Again, I want to repeat that for America. $4 trillion. We are going to have an uncapped, actually, debt ceiling that will equal $4 trillion that expires in a lame duck on January 1st, 2025. And for that, we do not get substantive policy reforms on any of the green tax subsidies, the corporate.
Oh, a lame duck. So you guys don't think you're going to win the House back? That's interesting.
I think we need to call our bluff. And there is
we do need to call our own bluff. Have you ever called your own bluff? When I was a child, we used to go ride into town, take a fresh, shiny quarter with us, call our own bluff, and hang up.
the time that you walk away from negotiations, and this is one of them. They're not serious. Biden dithered for over 100 days, and no deal is better than a bad deal. And this is a bad deal for America.
No deal is better than a bad deal, except when no deal means a really, really bad deal. Fuck. Anyways.
And it should not move forward.
Mr. Speaker, they're both on the Rules Committee. You need their votes to move forward, and you're going to need Democrats.
Well, we're going to sit down. We're going to talk today, have people come in. It's the first time they're back to be able to walk through the bill. I mean, read the Wall Street Journal. They say it's a very good bill. You look.
Yeah, and that Rupert Murdoch owns that, and he owns your network. And Trump loves him.
Time and again. What's interesting, compare it to other debt ceilings. When we had the presidency, the Senate, and the House, they just raised the debt ceiling with no cuts. It was just a clean debt ceiling. We only have the House. The president said he wouldn't even negotiate with us, but we were able to get in there. This is the biggest cut in American history that we'd vote for. And
no. I'm just here to tell you, cuts in the hundreds of millions, dealing only with 15% of the budget, and only about 5% of that 15%. No.
I'm not sure where in here. There's no new taxes. There's no new government programs.
Yeah, because it's not that kind of bill, stupid. You don't understand. Your people want to burn the fucking place down.
Would I wanted to cut more? Yes, but I was only able to work at less than 15% of the budget. So
Boo-hoo. Boo-hoo.
I'm not quite sure what else they wanted to go. 72% of this is off to the other side. We were able to plus up defense and the veterans, but that non-defense without veterans is actually lower than what we spend in 2022. I think we got to look at where the victories are. We don't spend another $4 trillion. We allow them to keep going forward till January, but you got those extraordinary measures. I think if we got a new president in there and a Senate majority, we're going to finally be able to tackle this. I would like to look at everything and put us on.
Right. Now there's the sentence. Buried well within the video. I would like to look at everything. This is right. If you paid into Social Security and your entire fucking life, he'd like to look at carving off a slice and paying for some other shit with it.
And a Senate majority, we're going to finally be able to tackle this. I would like to look at everything and put us on a better path. This is just the first step.
Right, because at this point, you guys Republicans only control one half of one branch of government.
Excuse me one moment. first dose of the fake stuff, and of course she's blah, 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 blah. But you can try if you want to the other stuff now because it needed 2 hours between. So at 4 o'clock she can get it. The white, there's the pink one and the white one, the pill and the stuff that's already a liquid. The one that's already liquid, she has not had yet. She's had the one that I had to make from a pill into a thing. So, excuse us, we have to triage a cat for a moment. Love you. Yeah, totally. She's exhausted, poor thing. My cat is sick. She's not doing well. Makes me sad. Okay, back to where we were.
So for you to get what you got was great for the most part because, you know, the Republicans did much better in this than the Democrats did, obviously.
Obviously.
And to your point, Joe Biden never wanted to negotiate, but you forced his hand.
Yeah, you're so badass. You got him in there, and you were going to make him negotiate, and this whole thing of you doing 5% of 15% and focusing on that, and then suspending the debt ceiling entirely instead of raising it to a specific amount, and allowing other appropriations to be untethered to the debt ceiling between now and then. It sounds great. It sounds like you totally fucked him.
However, because there are going to be, a bunch of Republicans on the big vote are going to vote no. You're going to need a bunch of Democrats to say, you know what? I can't believe I'm doing this. I'm going to vote with Kevin McCarthy.
Well, normally when you make
it's the other way around. Most Democrats are like, can we vote for the fucking thing? We know that there's going to be concessions because we lost half the House and they've got a hair's breadth control over it. But we're not going to fucking wreck the entire country over a pissing contest, especially when we've already achieved so much with our other bills, and it doesn't claw back any of the funds from the Inflation Reduction Act or any of those things, which have already elevated our spending to closer to our ultimate goals. 3 steps forward and 1 step back is not a loss. I don't care what anybody fucking says.
When you come to an agreement with 2 different parties, you have people on both parties vote for it. But the difficulty that's different than any time before is the Democrats will tell you there's nothing in the bill for them.
Nothing.
Right, because they're trying to, yes. And I don't know if you're aware of it, the Brer Rabbit would often say things like, don't throw me in that briar patch. It's a classic story. I hope you enjoy it.
The president, numerous times, he kept asking for tax increases, new government programs, and I just said no. And he says, well, there's nothing in it for us to vote for. I said, well, this debt ceiling increase we can go forward on. I'm not sure people want to go past that deadline and interest rates go up and others.
Right.
I think this is a good...
Go past that deadline and interest go up and others?
Go past that deadline and interest rates go up.
Oh, I say farted. Sorry. I didn't realize that was if you'll notice.
Forward on. I'm not sure people want to go past that deadline and interest rates go up and others.
Right.
I think this is a good first step, but we can go much further. And I have a plan for that coming forward where we can look at the entire budget and tackle our problems, especially in a bipartisan way. This is reasonable, this is sensible, but it's also a responsible thing to do.
And that's why Brian Kilmeade is confused.
It's going to be a nail-biter. It said Fox has learned that.
It says right here on my paper is going to be a nail-biter. It's always a nail-biter when they send me to Chili's during happy hour.
We expect, Fox expects between 240 and 270 votes for yes. And the New York Post writes, it doesn't starve the beast, but rolls back and limits. It's a decent deal. Meanwhile, there's something else you got to do, and that's juggle multiple issues. Mr. Speaker, the chairman, Comer, has asked you to call FBI Director Christopher Wray and get him to turn over documents linking Joe Biden to an alleged $5 million scheme thanks to a whistleblower who stepped forward and told his story in what I think is a 302, which is this story is all written down. They want to get the documentation. Christopher Wray has given the old Heisman. You tried to get him to do something. There's going to be a conversation today. What could you tell us?
What could you tell us about the thing?
About Christopher Wray cooperating at some point with something he has to constitutionally do with Comer.
Look, Comer subpoenaed the document that he's requested. We have jurisdiction over the FBI, which they seem to act like we do not. I personally...
Yeah, but Congress does not get to micromanage politically heavy investigations headed by the FBI, because that would be a recipe for fucking disaster.
Called Director Wray and told him he needs to send that document. Today is the deadline. So let me not just tell you, let me tell Director Christopher Wray right here, right now. If he misses the deadline today, I am prepared to move contempt charges in Congress against him.
Yeah, you don't have the votes to do that. But good luck.
We have jurisdiction over this. He can send.
No, you don't. Not if he's even if he's currently, if any of that shit is involved in a current investigation. No, you don't.
Does that document? We have the right to look at that. Republicans and Democrats alike in that committee. And if
no, you don't.
He does not follow through with the law, we will move contempt charges against Christopher Wray and the FBI.
You know what he says,
they are
Mr.
not
Speaker?
above the law.
Mr. Speaker, but what does he say to you when you told him to do this? He came back and said, if the reports are correct, well, this is a speculative document. It's unverified, so I'm not comfortable handing it over. What do you say when he says that?
We had a conversation, and I'm part of Gang of Eight. I see sensitive.
Here's what I want to know. Why can't they isolate Kilmeade's fucking audio?
Documents all the time. I told him he could redact certain parts of that, names and others, so we wouldn't know methods, but we have a right to see it. He does not have the right to choose what he can and cannot show us.
Yes, he does.
We oversee the FBI.
Yes, as an organization, you do not get to micromanage cases. I don't know why any of them think this makes any fucking sense.
And if he thinks differently, he will soon see a contempt charge in Congress against the director. There is enough.
By the way, a Trump appointee, I'd like to add, the Trump put Wray in. So it's nice to watch this and just fucking popcorn it, you know?
Problems in the FBI, and I am not going to sit back and allow him to ignore this.
I will not be ignored.
He will get this document. He has not denied that the document's not there. He knows that there.
He has not denied that the document is not there. Okay.
There's a document, and we have a responsibility to see it.
Let's talk about the 2024 race. We had Asa Hutchinson on our show earlier. He says he's going to New Hampshire and Iowa. We know that Ron DeSantis is kicking off his campaign today.
And we're very excited about all these campaigns because we get to send Brian out to all these places, and we don't have to see him for months.
Going to Iowa, and he's...
I'm not kidding. Like that, both of them are so fucking happy because this dipshit is on the trail, baby.
He's gonna, what is it? How many cities in three days? 12 cities in three days.
States.
And then
pay attention, you ditz.
And Sean Hannity's gonna have a
Deuce. He's like, am I the only one that does the fucking homework?
Sit down with President Trump in a town hall on Thursday for his show. So what do you think of the race so far?
Well, I think a lot of people are getting in with a lot of different ideas, but the one.
Yes, well said. It's very, yeah.
Thing I do know America loves is they love those Trump policies that made America stronger, and we yearn for that back in this House and back in this country. So I think having debates is healthy, but at the end of the day, we know foremost that what Biden has done.
We know foremost?
But at the end of the day, we know foremost that.
Foremost. I see. I'm sorry. I misunderstood what you're saying. Foremost. For the most part.
But what Biden has done to us, getting us out of Afghanistan, collapsing that, harming us around the world.
Wait a minute. Getting us out of Afghanistan, collapsing that? Collapsing what? If we're not there and the government can't exist without us, the fuck are we doing there in the first place? And why would we want to stay? Are you fucking nuts?
New Gold Star families, brought us inflation by Democrats in charge, opened.
Brought us inflation by Democrats in charge. I think he's going back to the growth of the Chinese economy under Clinton.
Border where we can't control. Fentanyl's now killing more Americans than any time in history.
Well, it's a new drug. It's not like we have a graph across, you know, who can forget the fentanyl wave of 1827.
need a new president with a new direction. So you can have the debates, but at the end
Okay, so not Trump. I
of
see.
the day, we need one person that's going to help lead us to the change.
All right.
We need one person that's going to help lead us to the change. Because if Trump gets in again, that's what the dollar will be worth. A couple of nickels and a dime.
Speaker McCarthy, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank
it's going to
you.
be a very busy week for you.
Oh man, this is gonna be crazy. And it is, and we're gonna be here right along with you while this nuttiness happens. It's gonna be adorable. If you thought the speaker vote was hilarious and embarrassing and stupid, wait till you see the debt ceiling vote and then the next speaker vote, which they're gonna force because I guess fuck him. And now he doesn't have like the same leverage, I guess, over the over Gates and those assholes because they're already on the committee. Can't take him off before he gets taken down. So, it's gonna be so good. It's just gonna be so good. Here we go. All right, and then, if I may, let's just get the inside pooper scooper. What Trump policies? Didn't you see the beginning of the show? The big Trump policy, which is no more anchor babies by executive. He's going to executive order most of the Constitution away. That's going to... This whole amendment situation, all the amendments are a problem. We need to start from scratch. Except the second one. We're keeping that one. We'll make it first. We'll make second the first. We'll take first. We'll put it on the second. We'll pretend to like it. And then we'll dump the rest. I'm going to be quartering soldiers in your house. So there you go. Now, this is Dan Bishop from North Carolina. He's on the War Room, which they have finally taken off the pandemic War Room logo. I guess they're admitting it's over as well. But here you go.
Honored to have Congressman Dan Bishop join us. The first.
That's just rude. Just lie to the guy's face as soon as he shows up.
Of many. We're going to roll out some of the big guns in this. You heard right.
What? Why does he always look like an extra in Scrooged?
There about the adults in the room. I mean, if this bill was at any way looking to save our economy and to particularly save not just future generations, but to make sure we're not Japan and lost decades of low and no growth, they would be on fire today about what barbarians we are.
It was kind of gibberish. Can't help you there.
All you're hearing from the mainstream media is Kevin McCarthy is an adult. Kevin McCarthy is a leader. Kevin McCarthy is responsible.
Kevin McCarthy has a weird-shaped head and has a silly speaking voice, and therefore you'd think he and Steve Bannon would get along.
What does that signal to you, Congressman?
Barely concealed glee. Even Biden said...
That's the worst kind, because, you know, you can tell.
Said it on the clip yesterday. He didn't want to gloat because people wouldn't vote for it. I think that was the word that I'd read in the headline he used, gloat.
Fucking gloat. I mean, people are going to call him the gloat, the greatest leader of all time.
This is a disaster. It is an entire capitulation of the dynamic.
I'm liking this bill more and more. I was okay with it because I recognize that you got to do something. But the more this guy talks about it, like I'm starting to get a semi about this.
Created in January that Republicans could be unified around a core set of real ideas that we.
Hey, dumbfuck, you couldn't even be unified around who your fucking speaker was.
Were going to go to the mat to accomplish. Kevin McCarthy is emasculating himself.
That's I'm sure one of your fellow Republicans has an anti-trans bill they can attack him with.
And the Republican majority. And so the bill's bad on its own terms, and that's worth knowing.
Yes, we'll go through that in a second. Yeah.
But
oh yes, please, I'm excited.
But the significance,
if you hate it, reason to love it,
is that it is blowing up. It is reverting to norm in terms of the way Washington works, and
remember when it used to work? I do.
Abandoning the possibility of something with a different dynamic through this Congress.
You've got Newt Gingrich, you've got people out there. This is transformational. I mean, here's what I think gets this audience most upset.
Yeah, and that's what you're selling, you know. But we got to get them really upset before we throw the My Pillow ad up, so that they're really like, I need some retail therapy.
Is that this is a big working class audience, middle class audience?
No, majority of his audience are fucking overseas bots and people who live in retirement villages.
We have a lot of people like my grandfather and father.
Right. Yes, your grandfather and father. Yes, you have a lot of fucking old people watch this show. Not they were working class at some point. Now they're living off their retirement.
Father that, you know, just went to high school or maybe even grade school, but are plenty smart. They read. We got them reading the FT and the Economist. They hate being talked down to, and they hate being talked.
Yeah, elementary school kids who read the Financial Times always hate being talked down to. All of them. I mean, both of them.
To like they're idiots. Walk us through this. This bill is so brazen. Particularly, we weren't happy with the first thing that was passed, right? But we said we'll take it principally because we get something, but particularly it's just 1 year and it's capped. It's 1.5 trillion. It's 1 year, and we can then have the bigger debate later as people see how they mismanage this. Correct?
Yeah, except they didn't, and we're not in this position because of government mismanagement of funds.
Walk us through your sense of this bill itself, the reality of it, not the happy talk that they're spinning nonstop.
And it's important to say at the beginning, you know, I would think that the least present virtue in Washington is courage, but I think that's...
Fuck you. Tell that to the Capitol Police that your asshole friends tried to kill, dummy.
Eclipsed by truth. That is to say, this stuff that's being
you're
said
saying
about
you're saying it's rarer to have truth even than courage.
Yeah. And this is, I mean...
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for straightening that out for him. This guy needs some politicking lessons.
I mean, so to have this done, but then lie about it in every detail is, of course, I started...
It's downright Republican, if I may say so.
Unbecoming. That's so I can't find the right word.
Well, it's, you know, I think you found the perfect job.
But it is, and can I say one other thing about your audience and about it?
No, because you can't say anything already about what you're trying to actually say things about.
That's one thing, is I sort of spend time up here and get in all the...
You sort of spend time up there? Don't you work there?
Wrinkles and I'll go and I'll meet some person back home.
Uh-huh.
And actually, it's not just one person, but I mean, it just...
Obviously, you know, you don't just meet one person. Nobody does that. They always come in packs of 7.
It happens. You get this impression person by person, and they've got amazing command of the details.
The details.
They know it all, and you do.
That's because those are the only people that get to you, stupid. That's because you're only operating surrounded by sycophants this motherfucker sends to crawl up your fucking keister.
Moon River.
It's, you know, it's like the self-selecting crowds that any, like, politically devout people find themselves in unless they make an effort to hang out with people that aren't like that.
You realize after a while, it's only going to take me 2 minutes, I think, to describe it. And so if someone's interested enough to watch for 2 minutes or listen, in fact, they're going to know what I'm going to tell them. I guarantee you, most of your audience has already heard these things and they've already gotten it because it's been out on...
Dude, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And neither does he. He's laughing at your face. But Steve Bannon loves to laugh at his guests because the money rolls in no matter how things go. Can anybody work out, other than the fact that he doesn't like it and he thinks it's capitulation? Where's this guy is patting himself on the fucking back for some sort of deep reads, wonky understanding of what's in it or his ability to express it, and we've heard nothing.
Twitter for a couple days. We've gotten the text, and so the biggest thing is, whereas as you said, we extended out the debt ceiling a year, put it in the middle of the presidential election, so that we would, in our bill,
and capped it 1.5 trillion,
correct,
or next May, whatever comes first.
So they go 2 years. And they have no limit on it.
No cap.
People think, they're sort of thinking, well, it'll probably be $4 trillion.
Could be much more.
Could be more.
Much more.
They got these Inflation Reduction Act tax credits for Green New Deal energy stuff that Goldman said, no, the estimate of 297 or 279 billion, the cost of that is wrong. It's going to be more than 1.2 trillion. All that's going to be rolling. The permitting.
Yeah, but those are tax breaks. They're not paying renewable companies this. They're allowing them to basically run a profit for a time because it's a new industry to get on its fucking feet. And by the way, again, we've covered this before, but every fucking gas station in this country was seeded by the federal government subsidizing every aspect of oil and gas in the United States as the Industrial Revolution took off and as people started to get fucking cars, and the connectivity of cars and the interstate highway system made business boom and grew the economy, and they knew it. So it was fucking worth it. Ultimately, had they known back then that they should probably, tee up and run cars off of natural gas earlier or something like that, we would have gone a different path. But the benefits to the society of the government subsidizing frequent gas stations being around everywhere you went, and the like oil companies and car companies getting subsidies and protections by the U.S. government benefited every fucking family in the goddamn country. Period. So these new companies that are running on solar and wind and geothermal and hydroelectric power and all that kind of stuff, they're giving them a break on their taxes to get up and running. But this is not money that would even exist at all. And when they get up on their feet, they will be a primary revenue source for the fucking government. But if they never get on their feet, that money will never come in. I don't even know why. If they're giving them the irony, listen to what this fucker said. Let me show you something. Listen to what this fucker said.
Much more.
They got these Inflation Reduction Act tax credits for Green New Deal energy
tax credits
stuff that Goldman said, no, the estimate of 297 or 279 billion, the cost of that is wrong. It's going to be more than 1.2 trillion.
So originally it was 279 billion. It's going to be 1.9 trillion, 1.5 trillion, probably closer to 1.2. That's because of the enormous growth in the renewables industry. If that's the taxes you're going to get, or you're expecting to fucking get, then imagine the size of the income of the industry as a whole. And if these guys had their way, it wouldn't exist at all.
All that's going to be rolling. The permitting improvements, which is the only thing in this bill you could argue is a get. Well,
it means oil and gas permits, which, by the way, were the Biden administration has had to sell off a bunch of these like Gulf oil permits, some of these other places, because they to get the infrastructure bill passed or get the rescue plan passed, they agreed to at least meet the ones that were already pre-sold or already marked for sale. And they still cut them by 60%.
Will actually be available to make all of that happen faster. Now that's as good as it gets.
Right.
So Kevin comes out and says, "Well, we've nixed the IRS agent expansion for fiscal year 23."
Gibberish.
That's just not true.
It's not just a misleading. That's false. It's factually false. The bill takes he said 1.9 billion. That's wrong. It's 1.4 billion. Off of the
80 billion.
80 billion appropriation has a 10-year life that they gave the IRS in a lump. The Democrats did. So you took $1.4 billion off, leaving 78 did I say 80? Yeah, taking $78.6 billion available. And it's not like the language in the bill doesn't do anything to hold them off staffing. It just takes $1 billion.
Yes.
Off. They can mass up immediately and spend.
Yeah, they're going to use AI. You're fucked, buddy.
And all they want to. And then he goes, so he does that and then tries to tell the conference and the American public that he's.
This guy's, by the way, I'm really loving how high this guy's voice is getting when he gets upset. And then they do, and then the thing, and then this is what we're going to do. And then they say the thing, and then we're stuck with the same fucking thing with the thing.
That we've nixed the increase, at least for 1 year. We can fight again next year, he said. Well, that's false. Let's see,
where was I?
Next? You got the other thing they're really proud of is what they call PAYGO, the PAYGO administrative rule.
A total lie.
Total lie.
When you read the footnote.
And again, what the analogy.
Here's the thing. The footnotes are why Biden is saying he doesn't want to gloat.
What it is, how important.
Yeah. The analogy it moves from is in our bill, we wanted to get the REINS Act. That's the thing that says Congress would have to approve all major regulations. And a lot of people say, well, that's a shiny object, can't get it, but it's got merit, interesting. It could fundamentally change how regulatory burdens are borne by the economy.
The administrative state.
Yeah, it could also destroy our waterways, our air, the FAA, the safety of interstate roads, probably result in a volcanic eruption and nuclear weapons being fired off accidentally.
Right. But instead they say, well, this is a handy substitute. PAYGO in the administration, they had a rule in the Trump administration, and it was enforced by the OMB that said the agency wants to bring out additional costs in the form of a regulation, they got to take it back in some other cancellation of a rule.
Because most updated regulations are 1 for 1.
Well, the language of this provision says it can be waived by the Biden administration.
OMB.
And they say for program effectiveness and things, which is anything. And it actually goes beyond that and says, and no such determination can be challenged in court.
Yes.
So
it's a bald-faced lie.
It is a. I mean that.
See what I mean? They're doing the best job selling this fucking bill to me. This is where you want to go when you want to, if you're ever worried about negotiations on a piece of bipartisan legislation that has to go through, go listen to these guys bitch about it. This is fucking relaxing.
You could say theoretically, look, leadership is going around and pointing out rules that have been come out in the last couple of years and $1 trillion or whatever of cost that's been incurred that way, that they say this is all going to be changed. It's dynamic. It's huge change. It's a lie.
Also, what about?
It's a lie. Come on. It's a lie. They're lying to our faces. Come on. It's a lie. Hold on. I feel like I have to, wait. It's a lie. Why won't the lies? There's a lie. And I have to say, it's a lie. Why do I have a double? There's somebody behind me. It's scaring me. I've got big hair, bigger than I thought. This is a lie. I'm one of his constituents. I'm from Ohio County in Ocklawaha district of Wyoming, which is a collective state that we all have formed in our minds. And they are lying. They're lying they lie like a line on the road. Okay? Lying. Sorry, I disappeared for a second.
The caps years after, it's a 2-year deal, but they say, oh no, you got to include the 1% budget caps because CBO included as one of their theoretical. No, it's a 2-year deal.
CBO scored this at $2.1 trillion reduction in the baseline over 6 years because there are 2 years of caps. Let me come back to that in a minute, and 4 years of targets.
Yes.
Well, the caps are of the kind that were put in 2011. And that were breached in every single fiscal year except the first.
Yes.
Over 2013 to 2021. Those kinds of caps are in for 2 years. So think about whether you think that'll play out.
Right.
And then the other ones for 4 years are targets that don't even have the force of the caps. And
they don't even have they ain't even got the force of the caps.
And then they go get that score.
They don't even have it. It's a lie.
By CBO, and the process is so screwed up here that CBO says, "Oh, that's going to save $2.1 trillion." Or
that's terrible.
That's what they're saying. $2.1 trillion.
Yeah.
They just lying. Come on. Why are you doing it? They just lying. Look, they ain't even got a cap. They don't. They said they gonna cap his stuff, and then they don't cap it. And they just lying. No wonder Biden's all excited. He jumping around, being all happy and stuff. These caps are nonsense.
So they lie. That's
what they do. They just lie. It's a Washington thing.
That's to me, as an observer, I've only been up here since 2019.
Only.
So what you guys did, what Donald Trump's emergence and everything, but to me, that's what
his emergency spending. He emerged from what are you trying to say? He emerged from one of them like alien eggs, like they went like that, and he went and jumped on the face and stuck his little. Never mind. I so wish.
What Donald Trump is about.
It is what he's about. He's about 294 pounds, and he's about 6'1". I've seen him on the screen. His head's really small. I think it makes him look cuter.
People are fed up with the lies and
I'm fed up with the lies. Tell him. Tell him. That's what he got my email. It just said, I'm fed up with the lies.
Cosmetics.
Yes.
And they've been seeing it, we're going to repeal Obamacare however many times in the House vote.
Yeah, and they never have. I mean, I'd be dead if you had, but still.
And then when the time comes you won't do it. That's what this is about. We tried to re-inject in terms of the...
I like the sound of that. I'm not going to lie. You can feel free to re-inject around here.
River.
That's what I was thinking.
Speakers contest, a dynamic where we said, okay, the House can get together. We'll hold Kevin McCarthy to account. I know when I...
To account? Like underwater till the count of 90, or what do you mean?
Say that, boy. I'm not unaware that your listeners are saying, boy, he sounds naive and just in that.
Yeah, he does. You sound real innocent. I'd love to just grab your little head and give you a noogie like that, but in a nice, friendly, sexual kind of a way.
Statement, but if you got to take the situation as you find it and figure out what the dynamic approach is to make something better.
I will.
So you take Kevin McCarthy, you wed him to specific.
He wet what? He wet himself? When did that happen?
Very precise.
Tape or it didn't video or it didn't happen.
Obligations, and he wants to be speaker more than he wants life itself.
Well, I doubt that. I mean, have you tested that theory? I don't think it's legal.
He will find a way to get the thing done. And rhetorically, he did a pretty good job over.
He did, except the part you hate. He's doing great.
2 or 3,
which is all of it, apparently.
3-4 months. And we put a Freedom Caucus bill on the floor and passed it with.
When you say Freedom Caucus, say it slower.
218 votes. They said we couldn't do that, and then he went in and just completely gave it all.
After.
Oh, he gave everything away. He just rolled over, lifted up his skirt, and sang to the heaven.
River.
He did. He didn't.
After selling.
Am I Michelle Bachmann? Excuse me. I am Henrietta Hagman. I'm Harriet Hagman's sister by marriage. We just happen to look exactly alike. I am the formerly conjoined twin. Thank you, Dr. Harrelsford. Of George DeVolder, a.k.a. George Santos, a.k.a. the Brazilian check swindler.
Saying I'm taking a hard line here, and then gave it.
Well, you're looking a little doughy for that.
Wait, the key is the 2 years. This deal, as much as we hated the first, the Freedom Caucus, and you guys realize you wanted.
Well, say Freedom Caucus real slow.
Much deeper cuts and more meaningful cuts to basically save the country's economy. But people are prepared to live with it as a compromise, but not one step back.
Not one step. What are we do-si-doing, or is this a hoedown?
And the key was it's 1.5 trillion. We're giving you debt relief, 1.5 trillion.
I understood there would be no math.
And or 1 year from today, whatever comes first. And that would probably be back here in October or November, having another.
Well, obviously, Gerald always comes first. Lazy son of a
Oregon
bitch.
saying we gave you the debt ceiling relief. You saw what happened. You're going to blow through it.
Yeah.
Now, the first thing they gave away, and this is the old Washington inside game, was the 2 years. Take the cap off because they know if you have a cap on this thing, we're going to be back here. And then
that's right. They just did. They screwed us. McCarthy's worse than Biden. China McCarthy. I think he's working for the Chinese. That's what I think. Tell him, Steve Bannon. He's swooped in there and taken the Biden crime family's territory. There's a gang war going on, and McCarthy is moving in on that territory. And Fredo Biden is going to fuck up the deal.
Take it, make it 2 years, kick it right after the election. Take it. We won't have a national conversation.
Yeah, we don't want to have that
during the 2024. And quite,
I lost my voice the last one.
Frankly, it takes Trump's, I think, biggest weapon. CNN said this morning it takes his biggest weapon out of there. How? One other thing, they talk about, even the cuts they talk about are ephemeral.
Yeah, so that's and even, that's right.
Give me a minute on that before we go to break. That's ephemeral.
McCarthy likes to say it was the first time we've cut.
It is. It's ephemeral. It's ephemeral, which is way too close to effeminate for Republicans to deal with. You can't allow that.
Spending might cut $12 billion. Somebody said at the outside you could see it could be $20 billion. It is laughable. It's laughable. But even that is probably not correct because there's some
You're saying even the 12 to 20 billion, which is the only hard number we can come up with. You're saying that may not be correct.
Correct.
Tell me why you got there.
Because you got these specific appropriations that go the other direction and laid aside for the PACT Act. That's for the soldier veterans. That was, they say it's going to be spent anyway, so it probably doesn't make any difference. But
this dude's bitching about the PACT Act still. About all the 9/11 first responders and soldiers near burn pits that were affected. He's still This motherfucker is still grinding over the fact that they had to dole out some money for health care for these guys and girls and people in general.
And then there's 22 billion of the COVID money that hadn't been spent. They don't
trillion, billion, who cares?
Actually rescind that and just keep it. They set it aside in these two funds at Commerce.
Can be redeployed.
And it can be redeployed.
Oh, what? That's terrible. So they take money already budgeted from COVID that hasn't been spent, and they claw it back and give the administration discretionary use of it. Because they already passed the bill where it had it in it, and they had the votes to do that. And so that's how it works. Because if you guys want to pass a bill that has discretionary money in it, that's the way you guarantee that doesn't get clawed back if you lose the House. It's a gentleman's agreement, but in a room full of the opposite of gentlemen. There you go. Yeah. Get out of the centrifuge. Is that my centrifuge face, everybody? By the way, hi chat room. I hope I wasn't creeping you out too much with that face. Bahara. Tax cuts for super wealthy while others are starving is ephemeral. Exactly. The fucking Trump trade deal with China where he's selling them all of our beef while Americans are waiting for bags of noodles in lines at cars during fucking COVID. Nightmares. We're used to Harriet. Yeah, it's dead on. It pretty much looks like her. I'm just saying. Creep us out all the time. Thank you. That's very sweet. That's pretty sweet. How much time do I have? Oh, I got time. Can I jump back into another one? By the way, I'm reminding everybody to subscribe, become a Patreon supporter, patreon.com/HouseBarks. Also, if you're on Twitch, you can subscribe if you have Amazon Prime and it doesn't cost you a dime. I'm just saying. And look, do the big accounts really need your time and money anymore? No, they're doing just fine. If they cleared that million number, hop over here and throw a like my way. Come on, give a thumbs up or something. And trolls, by the way, I had a great time with a group of trolls that showed up on my Twitter feed, and I was hoping some of them would make it over to the chat room. I don't know if they have. I didn't really check. Have any of them actually? This show is a lot. And yes, and you can always Venmo to support the show. Venmo to support the show. Also, I got to be honest, some of it will help Chud. Thank you, Andrea. Oh, that's very sweet, right? Perfect timing towards Chud's build. Thank you, because she's becoming an expensive cat, but she's worth it. I'm just saying. I love you guys. But yeah, like, subscribe, support the show, help me stay on the air, help this become a thing, and there you go. Hal's hair is a disguise. I beg your pardon. I was pretty happy with it. Its fullness today. Look at that, Jesus! I got 80s hairband due today. It's great. Chud is okay. She's sleeping. You haven't seen the trolls from Twitter? They may not really speak English, so it's hard to say if they would jump into a live chat. Glenn Danzig, I'll have you know, Glenn Danzig never had this much body. I'm just saying. Don't hate me because I'm hair metal. Just saying. I got whatever. What was her name? Kelly LeBrock? Yeah. Kelly LeBrock ain't got shit on me. It's gonna pump it up. It's good. Hal's way hotter than Danzig, trust me. Thanks very much, Templeton. I appreciate that. Thank you for coming to my defense. Relatively low bar. I mean, but yes, Chud is Chud-laxing right now. Glenn did roids, though? I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think Sebastian Bach level. Early Sebastian Bach, yeah. Now it's just straight and long. Thank you, Abe. Appreciate it. He's a douche. I only had a couple run-ins, and he had a crush on my ex-girlfriend, and so every time we would go to an event and he was there and she was there, it was awkward because she wasn't going anywhere with him, and it was rough on him. It was hard. It was difficult. Especially when I had long hair during the I Love the 90s thing, because there was a little bit of that, like, oh, I see, you found a taller, more tapered version of me. Damn it. All right, Danzig is a cat dude, though. See, he can't be all bad. It's fine. Not quite Crystal Gale's left. No, definitely not. I'm going for what's her name? Jane Child. Like, if I get down to here, then I'll start braiding it. That'll be great. Rat. Yeah, Warren DeMartini hair. Although I will say, I wish I had the glasses around here. The do I have right now, if I put highlights in it, it is exactly Ozzy, No More Tears. It's the exact, like, I looked at it the other day, you know. Right? I could do it. I could pull it off. I could do the biopic. The light in the window is a crack in the sky. Right? Sharon! I could do it. I could pull it off. How would look good in dreads? No, I would not. Because as good as they look on some people, they would not look good on me, and they stink. Most people's dreads smell bad. It's just a thing because you can't wash them like you can regular hair, and they're smelly. Sharon! Yeah. Yeah, it got really curly over the weekend because of Chicago. Anyways, what are we talking about? I've got a show to do. God damn it. We're getting into hair talk. We'll do that some other time. I'll do, hair days or something like that. Let's do, where's this?
Kevin McCarthy
Oh, here you go. So this is One America Network's, One America News Network, OANN, doing a report on the debt ceiling stuff. And it says, I mean, we gotta love this one. Kevin McCarthy surrenders. Mother told me, yes, she told me I'd meet girls like you. All right. She also told me, stay away, you never know what you'll catch. All right.
Surrenders. The House Speaker bound to Democrat.
Hold on, let me back this up.
Kevin McCarthy surrenders. The House
wait, at least they're not beating around the bush.
Speaker bound to Democrat pressure. Co-release with the Biden White House.
Bound? Bowed? Bowed or bound? She said bound, I think. Sexy.
A 2-year deal to raise the debt ceiling limit through the next.
By the way, I appreciate the Radar O'Reilly look-alike that they brought. It's fantastic. The guy over on the right who looks like a dad on a Law and Order episode who's totally not guilty until he is.
election and into January of 2025 with only modest federal spending reforms. How modest, you might ask? Well,
I might, but I'm not going to.
If you ask Texas Congressman Chip Roy, he'll
I wouldn't. Yeah, that literally is not something I would do. But thanks for showing me this.
tell you that this uncapped debt ceiling is worth approximately $4 trillion, and that there will be a freeze at 2023's bloated spending level, meaning that non-military discretionary spending will remain at post-COVID levels. Congressman Roy also points out,
I swear, later on, I'm going to listen to this alone slower.
That it claws back exactly zero of the $1.2 trillion Inflation Reduction Act's crony giveaways to elite leftists for grid
To elite leftists. Well, at least they're not giving it to like the dumpster diving Antifa leftists. You know what I mean? Like they wouldn't know what to do with $1.2 trillion. They just buy soup for their family.
Destroying unreliable energy, and that 98% of the IRS expansion will be left fully in place. Senator
97.6 though, I think.
Rand Paul of Kentucky says conservatives have been sold out once again.
Excuse me. No. The senator of Kentucky, not from Kentucky. He's a carpetbagger. Excuse me. As someone who's from Kentucky, piss off.
And Utah Senator Mike Lee quipped, with Republicans like these, who needs Democrats?
Thanks, Mike Lee. It couldn't come from a more disgusting fellow.
Despite the pushback, McCarthy's proud of himself, and he says that over 95% of the Republican conference is over.
I have to say, I don't know if it's a combination of the filters that they have on the camera, the uniformity of the makeup, or the shocking red lipstick, but there's almost no features to her face. It just looks like she looks like the corner of an armchair.
Overwhelmingly excited about what they
with glasses on
see. And I guess by that he means BLM supporter Mitt Romney, the other Republican senator from Utah.
BLM supporter Mitt Romney. That's how he's known these days.
Romney hopes that the House and Senate will pass this deal in the coming days. And indeed, the whips from both parties are out there whipping votes as we speak, as a potential vote could come as soon as this Wednesday, seeing as June 5th is said to be the deadline of the nation's borrowing limit. Though I think that that's more fear-mongering from the Treasury Department than anything. Joyce,
that's because you're stupid and you don't read or give a shit.
To discuss all this and more is independent journalist Jordan Schachtel. Jordan, thanks for being here tonight.
Jordan Schachtel. Okay.
Hey, thanks as always, Kara.
Great. So do you agree with the
Okay, so they're just breezing past some of the consonants in these words. Gotcha.
Chip Roy, Rand Paul, Mike Lee consensus on this that conservatives got sold out?
Conservatives got sold out. They don't have time to say the whole word. You want full whole words? Go watch Ben Shapiro.
Yeah, it's a disaster. I mean, I thought this COVID spending was supposed to be temporary, and now the Republicans have solidified it as the baseline. That's my biggest issue, is that
have solidified it as the baseline. Yeah, that's all government spending is now COVID spending. All COVID spending is government spending. The ABBA line.
All of this supposed emergency funding, whether it was due to inflation or due to COVID, has now been made. We're spending so many trillions of dollars, and now there's an annual deficit, outrageous annual deficit that is never going to get paid back.
An outrageous deficit that is never going to get paid back. Well, Biden's been bringing it down since Trump. I mean, it was certainly going up every year under Trump.
And now the Republican Party has basically embraced this movement of the goalpost to this very narrow window, and they're happy to operate within the confines of it. And I think,
well, I mean, they're pervy dudes. They like zipper hood, relationships.
In addition to that, the idea that we need to spend more on the Pentagon also is, I think, misguided. That was the one thing that historically Republicans have always supported national defense, which I totally agree with. But the idea that we need to be spending close to $1 trillion now per year on the Pentagon with their drag queen story hours, like the idea that we need to spend more, this isn't money.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great idea. And by the way, the Pentagon is not doing drag queen story hours. They they are being inclusive in who can join the army because this is fucking America. And they're trying to let everybody know that not only is the army fighting for your rights, but you can join and fight for everyone else's rights. They don't even have to like you to still want you to be able to be free and exist and all that kind of stuff. So it's, I mean, it's a noxious, disgusting concept to folks like this fellow here. But yeah, that's apparently he wants to pants us in front of the world because he thinks they're too inclusive.
Being spent for our national defense. This is money being spent for these big government projects that are connected to, you know, what the Biden administration is doing. So I think across
what the Biden administration is doing, which is what, boxing out China and Russia?
Across the board, there should be no increases whatsoever. And the deal, I think, is a total disaster because it normalizes these insane spending levels.
That it does, and also as you talked about with
that it does and stuff. Is it just me, or does she talk exactly like Gene the Jesus Machine from Flashpoint? Is that Gene the Jesus Machine in drag?
COVID, Daniel Horowitz from The Blaze, he flags this as well on Twitter from the deal that came out. He says,
"Oh, The Blaze, the sharpest tools in the shed."
So the only real savings in the bill are from unspent COVID funding. But even that, he says, is kept for the worst elements of the biomedical security state. These three provisions would
the biomedical security state
save money for the vaccines testing and mitigation and the genomic sequencing and surveillance. So all the worst parts, funding, everything still is in place. The one thing with Republicans is when election season comes around, what do they say? Lower taxes, less government spending. But whenever they're in charge, they spend just like Democrats do. But the problem that I really have is
no, that's not fair. They spend way more than Democrats do. Way more. Never mind the fact that Clinton balanced the budget and had a deficit surplus during his time in office. But for the fact that Obama came in 2008, if Gore had won and Bush hadn't fucked the economy with his laissez-faire trickle-down horseshit, the Biden administration would have maintained that fucking surplus the entire fucking time. Never mind the fact that Biden's bringing the deficit down.
If they're going to spend anyways.
And Trump was like a third of our fucking national debt in one single fucking term.
At least fund friends, right? Remember the friend-enemy distinction in politics? They don't even do that. It's always bowing to Democrats, whether it's the biomedical state or anything else.
The biomedical state. We live in the United States of Fauci. We live under the fear of Fauci's ouchie.
Remember with House Speaker, at the time, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi wanting $25 million snuck into COVID funding for the Kennedy Arts Theater. And that's, of course, a lot of that money gets funneled back into other Democrat causes and campaigns.
No, it doesn't. It helped the Kennedy Center, which was shut down during COVID.
But Republicans, we only seem to help Democrats when we do splurge. It's not like we're spending money to help ourselves. We're funding the worst parts of the biomedical security state, the IRS.
They're really hammering that one. This is the first time I've heard that, like, this is now like a tick.
And everything else. Do you think that's one of these major issues as well, that if we're spending all this money, we're not even getting anything good out of it anyway?
Boom. She didn't need to hear your fucking answer, buddy. Her question was an answer, okay? Okay? You don't know. You don't fucking know. Yeah, so that's fun. Let's see, we got that one, we got that one, we got this one, we got this one. And then finally tonight, if I can squeeze it in under the wire, we'll go to Real America's Voice. You're watching House Parks Megaworldwide. The only show that plays these clips all the way through as a point of pride, even when they're annoying and boring and it's the same shit sometimes. But, you know, they're going to keep lying. We're going to keep knocking them down. It's basically a bullshit talking point whack-a-mole is what I do for a living now. And nothing, I think, is clearer about that than the quote-unquote FBI whistleblowers. Hashtag, air quotes, whistleblowers. The FBI apparatchik of entrenched power. Man, I love when people try to concoct. That's the apparatchik of entrenched power. That's almost as good as when people take a word about something they hate and attach it to industrial complex. So here we go. This is this guy, John Fredericks, host of Outside the Beltway, and he's got, what's his name, one of the FBI whistleblowers, or maybe two of them. We'll see.
Okay. What exactly is going on right now in the FBI, Steve?
Yeah, Steve, Steve Friend, right? Tell us what's going on. Obviously, you're in front of one of those wood American flag sculptures that is necessary if you're going to have a right-wing podcast that you do out of your garage when your wife's not home, or you're recording your manifesto before you go postal.
Steve Friend.
Well, I think it's a combination of a historical misinterpretation of what the FBI actually stands for, and
the Federal Bureau of Investigation,
how it's evolved now from a law enforcement agency to a domestic intelligence agency, and finally, how it's...
Well, technically speaking, the courts, the DOJ in this particular case, enforces the law. The FBI investigates it and presents the case. They are technically not law enforcement. As a matter of fact, it's one of the reasons why they take the U.S. Marshals with them, which is a law enforcement arm, and oftentimes they're the ones who do a lot of the arresting and stuff. Just saying, you guys are supposed to look at the evidence, collect it, and make a case why there is a case in this particular. You certainly can arrest people, but you're an investigative body.
Develop these metric systems.
Or, well, you were part of one before they kicked you out for refusing to be part of an investigative body.
Essentially setting quotas for itself to achieve. So to go back to my first point, I think everybody historically has looked...
Yes, they set an awful quota, like catch all the criminals we can. And since we don't know how many criminals there are, but we can statistically expect that there's this amount, we should at least be showing that we're catching and clearing cases at this level. You know, like fucking adults.
The FBI is an objective force for good and a constitutionally grounded organization. And I don't think that's true. I think its history in the 30s, 40s, and 50s was anti-communist, and everybody just perceived that to be pro-American. And that's not, in effect, true. It's really just maintaining the status quo. And as...
Well, I mean, and did you think the status quo was communism, or do you just think we should have been, and you're mad about that? Or... Because if you are, I think the Real America's Voice people are going to be very upset that they platformed you.
The status quo within our ruling elite has shifted further and further.
By the way, the status quo in the United States is a constitutional republic where we choose our leaders through democratic means. That's the status quo. We have an established government with 3 co-equal branches. We have elections on the regular to make sure that we... can change those seats at the whim of the voter in a reasonable time space. That's the status quo. If there's corruption during a period or not, or a particular organization is run by someone like, say, J. Edgar Hoover for a while, who wants to turn the thing into his own, enforcement bureau, that's not the status quo. That's someone using the status quo to mask other activities.
To the left, the FBI now stands as an apparatchik of that entrenched power. Now,
well, the establishment of the rule of law in the country, yeah. I would like them to be an established organization that they don't have to jumpstart themselves every time there's a new fucking case.
I would take us into the mission creep that's happened since September 11th, and the FBI has evolved from counterterrorism.
The mission creep. What do you mean, looking for terrorists? Because terrorists operate, they commit federal crimes and operate across state lines?
From threats abroad to looking into the interior, as our military has been successful at eradicating the threats in the Middle East.
Yeah, but if they aren't, and any of those folks get over here, CIA operates outside, FBI inside, military can police, can operate as a force outside the country, but you can't police the country with military forces. Hence never mind.
The FBI has to justify its existence. It's a self-licking ice cream cone. And
the FBI is a self-licking ice cream cone, according to What do you think? Timothy McVeigh's third cousin
has to look internally at the threats. And finally, within the last 10 years, this integrated program management that I was trying to highlight at the hearing a couple of weeks ago, where the FBI sets metrics for itself to achieve. And if you ask for anything in the government and attach dollars and cents to it, you will get more of it. And that's why they've seen some inflated statistics, and it's giving a misperception of a domestic terrorist threat in America that just frankly isn't true.
Frankly, it is true. January 6th was a real thing. Thousands of people were there. Hundreds have been charged, but hundreds more still should and can be charged. Secondly, anybody who kills large groups of people, any of these shooters that go into an office space or anywhere around and shoots for political or social reasons, qualifies as domestic terrorism. We've had hundreds of these fucking things. And if the FBI at some point can catch people who perhaps after they do these things, when there's a suspect at large and they're the apparatus for catching somebody who goes across state lines, we need them for that, so that they can't cross state lines, be out of the jurisdiction of the local police, and then just blow up the next fucking building or shoot up the next fucking synagogue or walk into the next grocery store that's largely frequented by minorities.
What is their objective with this?
You're asking the wrong dude. He dropped out because he doesn't like it.
Well, again, it's probably a combination of a couple things. I think there are some true believers, especially among the ruling class in Washington, D.C. Those folks, their entire careers are hell-bent on climbing every rung. And as you climb one rung, there's fewer and fewer slots available. So
Yeah, that's not a true believer. That's like hypergamy. That's it's hierarchical gainsaying. It's the Peter principle.
They tend to toe the party line and say what they have to say to please the uppers.
Then they're not true believers. True believers are the opposite. Arguably, you would be making the case that you're a true believer, and you are, because of that, you cannot integrate with the FBI as it stands because they aren't true to the mission. And so ultimately, this guy, the main reason he seems to have been kicked to the curb is because he's stupid.
And they have to always make that pilgrimage back to Washington, D.C., and you can't help but through osmosis become corrupted by the swamp. And
yes, you can. Yeah, you can. That's just fucking dumb. Apparently, he's magically immune to it, but the rest of you fucking sucks. If you even get near it for very long, you dough-headed bastards are going to get sucked into swamp thought.
And on top of that, there's a financial incentive. Beyond just the promoting and making more money because of your promotion, hitting quotas and hitting these metrics, they're attached to, there's bonuses attached to that. So being gold and hitting the check marks for a number of cases opens and arrests achieved and wiretaps initiated, there's 5-figure bonuses for senior executive service members. So it's a perverse incentive, and they push.
Yeah, that's not just for opening cases. You have to close the fucking things. Believe me, if anybody in the uppers on any of these district offices of the FBI or any of the main dudes in Washington, if they were known for just opening random cases on people that never turned out to be worth a goddamn, you think they would A, keep their position, and B, get any kind of fucking bonus? Are you nuts?
On the rank and file to achieve that because they want to pad their own pocketbooks.
Okay, so
that's absurd, but do you see the bridge behind me?
But they have to have an end game here, right? So when you say, they're performing these duties at the behest of senior leadership, what is senior leadership's goal here? I mean, when I grew up, the
Total autonomous Federal Bureau of Investigative Industrial Complex control.
FBI was an institution to, protect our shores, to root out wrongdoing, to get rid of mafia people and evildoers and things of that nature.
Yeah, and they still do.
Now they're just going after people going to a school board meeting.
No, they are not.
So, I mean, there's got to be
again, hold for a second. Think about what that guy just fucking said. Listen to this. This guy.
Leadership's goal here. I mean, you know, when I grew up, the FBI was an institution to, you know, protect our shores, to root out wrongdoing, to get rid of mafia people and evildoers and things of that nature. Now they're just going after, you know, people going to a school board meeting.
Now that's what this fuckhead thinks the FBI does all day, every day. For real. I know this dude's full of shit, but this guy's, he actually kind of seems like he believes this. This guy was the former FBI, and I think he was on loan, former cop, and they make you you get your classification because you've been in other law enforcement instead of going through the actual FBI academy. And during the Trump years, a bunch of these like right-wing wannabe cops wanted to get in the FBI and help weasel in there to help Donald Trump. And this guy was one of them. But this fuckhead, can you imagine what an idiot you would have to be to think that the FBI has just given up on serial killers and drug smugglers and mafia and organized crime and human trafficking and child pornographers and all that shit? They've just given up on it entirely, and now they just go harass parents at school board meetings. Something, by the way, they have not ever done.
So, I mean, there's got to be...
Yes, this guy paid Cash Patel paid this guy's bills, along with the other guy.
There's got to be, on the fourth floor, whatever that floor is, you know, there's got to be a goal in mind. Like, what is it that they want to achieve here? I mean, I get the incentives, I get the money, but those are all put in place by somebody on the fourth floor. So what's their end game? What do they want the outcome to be?
Obviously, to turn everyone gay, I think, is pretty much right. Yeah, it's just a big. The FBI is now in charge of the gay agenda. They've AOC has regular meetings over there with activists from all across the country, and they just bring them in through the basement, and they have conversations about how the FBI is supposed to work on the big gay ray. And of course, the problem they have, of course, is it runs on solar, and they really want to use it at night. So they're working on battery technology, but they've got to keep Elon Musk out of the loop. Otherwise, he'll blab to everybody. So, yeah.
Well, it's communism? What? Total control? Stasi? What is it?
I think you hit it nail on the head in the last one. It's the seventh floor, and the nature of the FBI having shifted from law enforcement to domestic intelligence, I think when you look at a law enforcement investigation, it's very linear in its structure. There's a beginning and an initiation, an event that happens that has to be investigated. You do the investigation, and then it comes to a resolution, and whether or not that ends in a conviction of a criminal or not, that's up to the justice.
Yeah, slow down. A lot of us are having a hard time processing this if we've never seen a Law and Order episode.
System. But as the FBI has evolved into an intelligence organization, those investigations are circular in nature. So you initiate an investigation.
Yes, they investigate themselves. It's they're the
to gain intelligence. What does that give you? More intelligence. And you gain more intelligence.
Yes, that's the great thing. I ask myself questions, and I just make up answers to questions I don't know, and I become smarter. Because intelligence always leads to more intelligence, especially when you don't go outside your own knowledge base.
Intelligence to gain more intelligence, and then you spin other investigations off of that never come to an end. And that's how you get these cases that go for decades on end, and there's really no resolution to them. And the FBI still is able to check boxes for itself and say that it's successful because it's able to initiate these investigations, gain this information on the American people. And back to my original...
All right, this asshole's trying to be like your local Snowden.
Initial point where I'm arguing that the FBI in itself is sort of an aconstitutional organization.
Yeah, that's stupid, and it's obviously not.
It's preserving the status quo by helping to tamp down the politically troublesome mindset that the powers that be are view, which is at this.
Again, how would it tamp down a political mindset? Do they? They have a special brain ray that makes you think different thoughts.
Point in time is going to be conservative America, people who are pro.
Okay, so they used to do it against liberals. Now they're doing it against conservatives. But the idea is to maintain whatever status quo is actually happening. Not crow. Status quo is what I text people when I'm watching The Crow and I don't want to be disturbed.
Right. Second Amendment, pro-border sovereignty, pro-life, pro-traditional marriage, and that's why you end up with a radical traditional Catholic memo that's drafted in the Richmond field office that is targeting these parishes for infiltration and potential human source recruitment.
All right. I don't know which memo he's talking about, but so you have radical Catholics are for all of the things that he's alleging the FBI is there to destroy now. Oh, that was the end of it. What?
In the Richmond field office that is targeting these parishes for infiltration and potential human source recruitment.
Okay, so they're trying to recruit hardcore Catholics to inform on Jesus. Hold on. Let's see. Okay, Richmond. Whoops. Field office. Catholic memo. Something. FBI says internal Richmond memo on Catholics fails to what? Meet agency's exacting standards. Hold on. Somebody. So let's see. Bishop goes to statement following leaked internal. Okay, Virginia leaders respond to leaked FBI Richmond memo. Where is the actual one? Virginia leaders condemn anti-Catholic internal FBI memo. This is what they're talking. Okay. The publication would appear to be an internal FBI memorandum targeting, if I may, let me shrink this down and we'll end with this. We'll do a little educational time if we can together. I think it's a good idea. The memo dated January 23rd entitled Interests of Racially or Ethnically Motivated Violent Extremists in Radical Traditional Catholic Ideology Almost Certainly Presents New Mitigation Opportunities. Was produced by the Bureau's Richmond office. It was published online February 8th by uncoverdc.com with portions redacted. The document expressed with high confidence that the FBI Richmond office has, quote, increasingly observed interest from violent extremists in radical traditionalist Catholic ideology. It included criteria for distinguishing radical traditional Catholics from traditional Catholics who prefer the traditional Latin Mass and from overall Roman Catholic adherents. In the same way that Biden, when he brings up Republicans, separates maggots out from the rest of them. Okay. Suggests that the Bureau pursue the development of sources in Catholic parishes and social media websites to help identify those promoting violence. Okay, I see. So they're not interested in, they don't think overall Roman Catholic adherents or traditional Catholics who prefer the Latin Mass are a problem, but they know that there might be some people in there that are promoting violence and they want to nip it in the bud. In a way that, by the way, if this was Islamic terror, these motherfuckers would be going, why aren't they getting people in there? Why don't we have human intel? It should be troubling and offensive to all communities of faith as well as to Americans, said Bishop Burbridge in February 23rd episode of Walk Humbly podcast. The Walk Humbly podcast. He said he was surprised by the reference to the Priest's Fraternity of St. Peter, a religious order that celebrates the traditional form of the Mass. And for the faithful, yes, the reference was, don't worry about those guys. Because the way you worship or live to practice your faith and be labeled as an extremist and to threaten society is outrageous. Uh-oh. He's the criminal. He's going to kill you. He's a murderous terrorist. Look out, everybody. He said the magic word. It's outrageous. Outrageous. There it is. Outrageous. Anytime somebody throws outrageous around there, they're like, oops, it's an admission of guilt. Okay. It was good to see the FBI correct the error by removing the memo, but I think they should have gone much further and apologized. My hope is that it was a lone agent's grievous error in judgment, not evidence of what a larger group of the Justice Department thinks of Catholics. It isn't if you fucking read it, because they're saying, by and large, this has nothing to do with regular order Catholics, even people who prefer the Latin Mass over an English language Mass or a Spanish language Mass or any of that shit. They're talking about a very specific, distinct, they're not even just saying Opus Dei is a bunch of Da Vinci Code freaks. They're saying this one particular strain that other people are trying to infiltrate it and take it over, and you might want to be aware of that. This is so fucking stupid. It's like people getting offended. It's like Christians getting offended at people being concerned about David Koresh. He was alarmed to read the reports of the journal. The leaked document should be troubling and offensive to all communities of faith as well as all Americans. Our faith and our church instruct us to be a people of peace and uphold human dignity. We do not condone violence. Yes, they know. Their concern is that some people do condone violence, and they think they might be able to find some fertile ground around you, especially in the pro-life movement, to do some Tiller the baby killer shooting. That's what concerns them. And they have a right to get concerned because that's exactly where they get those people from. I call on all national representatives from the Commonwealth of Virginia and the House and Senate to exercise their role of oversight, publicly condemn this threat to religious liberty, and to ensure there is no threat to religious liberty in this. You do not have the religious liberty to carry out violence against your fellow citizens. You don't. You don't. That is not part of religious liberty in the United States. You can do a whole bunch of crazy shit to yourself up to a certain limit around your religion. You can also interact with other people of your religion who will let you do stuff to them and them do stuff to you up to a certain limit, and certainly age range should play a part. But if you are threatening violence, that moves right out of religious liberty to bullshit politics. It's political violence. The memo targets Catholics as potential threats due to their religious beliefs. No, it does not. Anti-Catholic bigotry appears to be festering in the FBI, and the Bureau is treating Catholics as potential terrorists because of their belief. No, they are not. All right, where's the story has been updated. In a statement, they disavowed the document and pulled it from internal circulation, saying it failed to meet the agency's standards. Okay, it needed to be clarified. These are the other ones. Where's I need the text of this thing. Okay, here it is. Dear Sir, ma'am, this letter is to request in accordance with the Freedom of Information Act. Okay, this is they got this one. According to shocking media reports, this is the thing. Records requested. And then, let's see. Please contact the undersigned to clarification. That's it. Okay, that's the request for it. I don't know. Yep. They have the actual document. Where is it? FBI is under scrutiny. Blah, 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 blah. Sign up for the emails. Blah, blah, blah. Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA said, "Oh yeah, Turning Point USA. Aren't they the ones that have a convicted pedophile as one of their big donors?" Let's see. Using his FBI. Apparently devout Catholic. Joe Biden is using his FBI to target Catholics. Wow. Yeah, Ronnie Jackson. Fuck off. Post the Newsweek is contacted. Where's the memo? Where do they have the? Can we post the fucking All right. It annoys me when I can't find the actual document. Secondly, hold on. Yeah. This guy right here. Charlie Kirk's Turning Point partners with registered sex offender. Bergstrand served time for attempted coercion and enticement after trying to persuade a minor female to engage in sexual activity. And now he wants to be around a conservative youth organization around high schools and college campuses. He wants to be a donor to it so he can show up uninvited to all kinds of gatherings. What could possibly go wrong? Far-right extremist radio chat show host and Turning Point USA CEO Charles J. Kirk, in statements he made this week at TPUSA's second annual Pastor Summit, told attendees that conservatives and others need to boycott Target for their support for grooming kids. Kirk also attacked Target. One of TPUSA's summit corporate sponsors was Sean Bergstrand, a current CEO of Bismarck-based Right Side Up Apparel, who is also a registered sex offender in North Dakota, Rolling Stone magazine reported. There it is. Kirk's condemnation of the, let's see, they went after, yeah, delivering the fever message about morality and child care, but Rolling Stone has learned that one of TPUSA's summit corporate sponsors is a Christian fashion company that is led by a registered sex offender, Sean Bergstrand, who served time in federal prison for attempted coercion and enticement after trying to persuade a minor female to engage in sexual activity. They were like, that TPUSA Faith, quote, was not aware of this incident, but emphasized as an exhibit sponsor, Bergstrand was not a speaker, organizer, or professing doctrine from the stage. No, I'm sure he was quite happy behind the scenes. One of the core tenets of the Christian faith is forgiveness rooted in repentance. Yeah, agreed. But also, I would say fear wolf in sheep's clothing. Trust in God and tie up your camel, as it were. After discussing the issue with him, we believe it was critical to bring him to faith. I see. So you guys talked him into pretending to be a Christian so that he could be around underage models when they photograph their clothing line. I'm starting to barf. And like emotionally, psychically, I'm barfing right now. Will not toss away any repentant, decent person because of a mistake that happened over a decade before. Okay, this wasn't a mistake. He didn't think she was 30. That's not a mistake. That's an active choice by a grown fucking man. It's like, that bugs me the same way people go, it was really unfortunate. Yes, what was said was really unfortunate. What, like the words fell out of your fucking mouth? Like somebody bumped your jaw and you just accidentally said something awful? Those were very unfortunate remarks. You mean the stuff he meant to say and said? Forgive as the Lord forgave you. Well, he created hell, though, I would just say, in case he needs it. In today's conservative movement, nothing animates activists like supposed liberal indoctrination of children. The religious right, in particular, espouses unhinged rhetoric about how youth are being groomed into trans and LGBTQ ideology by Luciferian leftists. But, this guy's... first of all, it's not my turning point, or the Lord's turning point. I am a Christian and nationalist, but most importantly, I'm a Christian, I guess. Right Side Up, a Christian lifestyle apparel company that sews tags that say BSITL, be strong in the Lord. Tell that to your seams. Into his t-shirts and other clothing companies' websites. Go, we all have a life story, and it doesn't matter where we've been. It matters where we're going that counts. Yes. And if there's any sense of post-life justice, I would pack light. The company CEO Bergstrand had a prison conviction in his life story. He's a registered sex offender in North Dakota. A designation that the state's registry indicates will remain active until 2030. There we go. North Dakota Sex Offender Registry. That's the dude. Wearing the logo for his company. Here's several pictures of him. I guess these are pictures that he took at his computer or in the police station. He's 42. Yeah. 6'2", 235 pounds. He's the same size as Trump, only lighter and taller. Risk level low. Well, that's nice. There's his address. That's not good. I don't need to dox anybody. This attempted coercion enticement is a 12 months, 1 day, credit for time served, 5-year supervised release. Qualifying offense information. Okay, that's the dude. Well, I think that just about settles it, kids. Thank you for being here. I've got to go get in a car and drive to Los Angeles. And what a shot. By the way, that guy, the Talking Points USA booster, the donor, the guy who's helping Charlie Kirk get his message out, a registered sex offender who tried to have sex with a child. That guy he is not a drag queen. as far as we know, never done drag, never has been. Just reminding that. Yeah. Cheese House Sparks, do you ever rest? Never. Win by attrition. I've just got to take it on the road. Take it on the run, baby. 'Cause that's the way you want it, baby. But I don't want you around. He's got a cold right now and can't tour REO Speedwagon. Had to cancel some dates. It's very sad. Coal miner sex is the pits. Get out of here. For those pagans who need hell as part of their culture, Jesus claimed to have conquered it according to the Apocrypha of Simon Peter. That was awfully nice of him, Wes. I agree. I mean, and that's what he did in the 3 days in the tomb. I mean, he overcame hell. And thank you guys so much. I'm going to go check on Chud, see if she's awake enough to give her another dose of medicine. And then I will see you guys in the morning. I'll be doing the show from L.A., and Philip Ittner will be joining me from Ukraine, where there's a lot of stuff going on. And then I will do the afternoon show. Like I said, it's probably going to be an hour earlier to give myself the kidney. To give myself room to get to Flappers and have the show. And again, patrons, Patreon supporters, you guys will see the show live, and then I will be posting chunks of it, and you know how I mean that, later after the show, and they're going to be shorts on my YouTube channel. I've just started. Look out for shorts on the YouTube channel. It's going to be very exciting. Apparently, it's a good way to get subscribers, so we're going to do shorts. Which will not be, by the way, me dressed in shorts. And Christopher, no. Yes, Hal in shorts. How do you know I'm not in shorts right now? Huh? How you know? How do you know? How do you know? Just saying. All right, love you guys. Take care of yourself and take care of somebody else, and I will see you come the morn. Thank you, awesome ones, for making it a great show today. Cheers to the folks that gave us cheers. Carry On 57, Ginger Freakin' Nature, Slayer Chick 303, Star Gal 46. Come on now. Central Scrutinizer 1, because there was already a Central Scrutinizer 1. Ziggs, Teen, Glim, Little Hellbilly, Captain, Blues Lovin', Sweet Mel. Come on now, Professor Funbags, Eggs, 5 No More, Ali Osher, Moms Russo. Thank you so much. And we got the bosses in here. Can't Stop Lying, helping us out. Restreet Bot, Nightbot, TLK Knitting is back with us on the regular. Help to get this channel off the ground. We're forever grateful. Go subscribe to her channel too. Super Chats for the love of Paul. McGrath Aston Villa podcast. Oh, that's very nice. Is that the whole name? Robert Brunswick. Petrazi 20? Yes. Saha. Therese Rayburn, GMB 627, Tabby Tapas, Jackie, James Krug, Connor Kelly, come on, JD Christie, De Wichita, Andrea, Abe Coots, Aaron West, come on now, Irrational Geographic, James Manley, Cynthia Walker, Brian, Texas Ranger, Brian Harmeyer, thank you very much, and thanks for following DJ Time, Chess Carpet, I see, Hazy Convoy, Code Dragon, thanks so much. And thanks for subscribing. Z Gorman, Texas Discovery Network. Good on you. Thank you. And other subscribers. Mark P, CRL3232, JO122, Dog Mom 48, Blitzkrieg 8451, Victory Shouts, New Zealand, Wolf Mom 12, Twisted Stepsister J Pavone 2022. Ooh, Billy Joe. Heavy Kettle, thank you so much. More Than Jake 96, Jub Kobe. That's the name I've not heard in a long time. Larry Leo, Dawn 88, Helen O'Shea, 5 eggs. Beverly Bradford, thank you so much. Diana Turner, come on, Mary P. JDR, Jackie, maybe tomorrow. And then Francesca Napolitano, maybe tomorrow twice. Look at that, doubling up. Tina Rugg, Nearly Impossible. James Manley, Hera Gregory, Tom Bias, Bannon's Jesus, Jack B. Nimble, Jack B. Quick. Jack B. Nimble, Jack B. Quick, Universe Observer, thank you. Melissa Feldman, O. Elam, Luna Lane, Bill Deacon, Katia Rose, Bob Carmody, and Jolie, And thanks for the raid, Johnny Million. It's Johnny Million.